Today, we're diving into the world of indie filmmaking with a director who's pushing creative boundaries. My guest is Paulo Perez, who is the writer and director of The Human Supremacists, a satirical comedy that takes a bold and unexpected look at veganism and diet culture. With a budget of under $50,000, a minimal crew, and a vision that challenges conventions, Paulo navigated the entire process from script to distribution, landing the film on Amazon Prime. In this interview, we talk about everything from writing and casting and shooting on a budget and post-production and the challenges of getting an independent film seen. If you're an aspiring filmmaker or just love behind-the-scenes stories, this one is for you. Let's get into my interview with Paulo Perez. So you wrote and directed this movie, The Human Supremacists. I'm really curious, what got you interested in this story?
It came to me, I saw the words human and supremacy together, and then just like that, it just started snowballing. And from there, I had curiosity, the fair curiosity about cults, and it was just starting to mix in together. And I've had the idea, I've always found it funny, especially with my dad, the idea of gluten-free. Gluten is real, but the way that the marketing can kind of take food and just make anything free. Oh, now all of a sudden, chicken is potassium free, things like that. And I like that idea of kind of inversing it and looking at diet culture in a completely different way. So on the surface, it seems like it may be about veganism, and our protagonist is vegan, but it turns out to be way deeper than that.
So you mentioned that you took a satirical approach to diet culture and veganism. How do you balance comedy with social themes like that?
A person does have to have a sense of humor with it. I mean, yeah, there are some jokes that poke fun at veganism, also poke fun at omnivores as well. And then as you go on further in the movie, it just becomes, it's an honest, it's really not intended to insult anybody. In that sense, it's a comedic, and it's gonna, sometimes you gotta laugh at yourself. Yeah, that's the best way to look at it. And then, yeah, it's not gonna be for everybody. So I do realize some people are gonna hate it. Omnivores, carnivores, vegans alike. Well, let's go for it, and we'll take the punches as they come.
So when you were developing this film, what was your main creative goal? Like when I ask people this question, like I'm curious, like, are you looking to just do this as like an art project sort of? Are you looking to just get eyeballs on it? Are you looking to make money? Like what was your kind of approach there going into everything?
I wouldn't say it was a pure commercial venture by any means. I wanted to make something. I felt like it was something that had to be done. I feel like this idea of human supremacy is gonna become way more common in our lives, and especially since the film is finished, I think it's gonna come way bigger with the idea, not not just the idea, but the practicality of artificial intelligence, and now kind of seeing how we are in the chain as humans. Are we above or below AI? And we'll see if we lose or whatever may happen there. But I just felt like it was something that had to be told, as simple as that. That I felt like this story, I had something in here, and I think the rest of the people need to get it. And I have a love for cinema, and I want to have something that I could be really proud of. And really, I felt like the audience deserved more original stories. It's a shame what's happening in the film industry. I mean, if people find the good fight, yeah, I know yourself, we can talk about cashing out too, and I thought. So I felt like the audience really needed that. So at the end of the day, I was doing it for them.
You mentioned to me previously that this movie is not very dialogue heavy. So I'm curious, what challenges did you face writing a comedy that just doesn't have a lot of dialogue in it?
Yeah, the biggest challenge is modern comedy today, especially in cinema, is very much leaning towards talking heads, saying some funny things. The overwhelming majority of it. So try to find all the ways to extract humor, when it's sound design, whether it's the way it's edited. That was and kind of think forward from already the writing stage. That was the big challenge there. I was like, I want to find all those different ways to extract humor and give comedy to the audience in a way that they don't normally see. Because yeah, if you go through, I have a bunch of funny lines that things run down on the phone or whatnot, but I had to, one, always make sure it's in context and it makes sense driving forward. But I wanted to see something that it's supposed to be comedic for the audience, but it's not supposed to be comedic for the characters in the story themselves. So they're not really in on the joke. like 98% of the time. There's that little hysterical upside down humor that.
What got you into filmmaking? Like, how did we get to this point where you're making a feature film?
Oh, for one, I can't go that long without paying left-handed. So I feel like that was always in either. And from my mom's side, I think we're definitely driven towards the art. My mom's an artist as well. And then I always had the love for cinema in the casual way growing up. And then it hit me that this is something I just really want to do. Like one day I was a teenager. And I mean, I always had a love for literature as well, and that grew. So that certainly the writing side from it nested really well with cinema. And then you kind of get just the craving for it, and you get deeper and deeper, and you get more and more interested, and you want to make it yourself, and then that would like they become a little better, and it spirals upwards, and you keep going, you want to keep doing it. Um, that's really where it came from, and then there's that desire to not one way around. When I started writing music comments, I really got into the thick of it. I was like, "There's gonna get made. I'm not gonna hold back. I'm not gonna be waiting around 9 years for everything has to fall into place that's gonna be made."
So before we got started, you told me that the budget for your film was $50,000. I'm curious, how did you determine your budget and where you needed to allocate those resources?
Yeah, when I could get you exact down to the dollar, I would say 50,000, right in the dot. But at the end of the day, it's realizing where the most value is, what you have access to. There's some things that purchased before that wouldn't count in the budgets. At the end of the day, I mean, the cash is incredibly important. And seeing really from the script what's going to be the most important. They're more makeup heavy movie. This is not a makeup heavy movie, so I didn't. That's something. When these a normal percentage for cinematic events would be higher for the makeup, but in this one, I felt like it wasn't. In fact, in particular, it wasn't for purposes of the budget, but it was really important for most of the characters to have the natural look. And I know there can be a makeup natural look and a natural look, which is different, or makeup free look and a makeup free look with makeup, but it ended up just working without any makeup for most of it. So really, the story, the script itself, just guides us up, and it guides me saying, okay, this is just yelling. This scene is telling me I'm gonna need Alexia's. This scene is telling me we're gonna need a makeup on. Not 85% of the scenes, but these 3 scenes right here in minute 57. So I take that as the big blueprint right there, the script. And from there, you shoot what you can.
So how did you end up raising the money for this film? Like, did you self-fund? Did you do any sort of crowdfunding? Like, walk me through that process a little bit.
Yeah, a majority of it was self-finance, but there was some crowdfunding. I would definitely do that differently. That's its own little mini marketing campaign in and of itself. And I mean, the reason why I wasn't gonna absolutely just stretch this out and look for investors for 7 years, because I was like, time's going, what? And I need to make this movie soon. I feel like the audience needs to see it. I want to make this, and I have the ability, and I know I can. I was always writing it with the intention that I'll be able to have some alterations where, yeah, maybe I can make some sacrifices to just make it myself, or any of the resources I can accrue and with the team. I'll be really the finding point.
I want to kind of dive into something that you've mentioned a couple of times at this point now, but you kind of said there that now was the time for you to make this feature. Back when I was making Cashing Out, I kind of had a similar thought. Like, there was no better time for me to make this movie than when I was making this movie. So for you personally, like, what was kind of the clock that made you think, like, I have to make this film right now?
I don't have any children that are old. So there's that, but I have that freedom to, okay, I can film this where I want. I'm not going to have something like that or have that kind of responsibility. And yeah, I mean, there's, Paulo, I'm at back over here, times when very near. I believe that's what it is. So, I mean, you never know. My dad says, nobody has their life thought. You never know when Grim Reaper is going to you know, on top of your shoulders there, that's it, and anything like that. So do it while you can, definitely. And if you love movies, make a movie. Kind of idea. And I don't think it was gonna get really any better with time going on. And there's always the threat of, man, I hope nobody else comes up with this idea. So you got to be like, that's one of the big things. And, let's get this now. If somebody else comes up with this idea of, all right, they're cold and they seem like they're vegan, but they're not, and all that. Somebody else comes up with that before me, or like, I won't be sleeping for years. So that was another thing that really drove to get this down.
Before we move on, I wanted to quickly go over some of the ways that you can support me. The easiest way is subscribing to my channel and watching my latest videos. I've also started a membership program that gives you early access to videos before they go live. It starts at just $3 a month on YouTube and Patreon, and if memberships aren't your thing, you can buy individual posts directly on Patreon without the membership fee. My feature film Cashing Out is available to watch on major platforms like Amazon and Apple TV, and you can even watch for free on platforms like Tubi, Plex, and YouTube. If you want to support directly, there's a pay what you want option on my own OTT platform that starts at just $2. And if you do watch the film, it would mean the world to me to leave a review on IMDb, Letterboxd, or your favorite platform. Lastly, if you're interested in my future film projects, you can sign up for my email list. I have some exciting new films that I can't wait to share with you all. All of these items will be linked in the description below. Thank you so much for the support. Now let's get back to the show. So jumping back to the budget really quick, what were some of the techniques that you used to kind of stay in your budget range?
The biggest cost-saving measure, and your definition say appreciate tremendously, and some people they're lifelong in terms of these relationships that I've been building. Editor, Adam Smith, he's incredible. I've known him since I've been on night school, and it's just, me coincidence is in the right word, we serendipity is the right word of the book. Ended up having this interest in cinema. And he played a huge role as an editor. He built an detective creator. But more I think from a production standpoint, the actors, I call them the big three, Rachel and Joey, them just nailing it, take after take after take. And with the rehearsals, and then even rehearsing on their own, aside from me, I didn't impulse it or anything like that. So when it came to the sets, there was very little to direct them. They knew the characters well. They brought way more to the characters than were in the scripts, which is the sign of a great actor. So from that point, it's just a lot more technical stuff. That was a wonderful take, Rachel, but there was something wrong there technically with the camera, the sound. There's an airplane going over. We're gonna have to do it again. Just do it the same, and bam, that's a big shave right there. And the location, having it, not many company, no company moves really in the day. It was all pretty much planned out. But now within a location, sure, but that was a major thing that overall not really come from the script. That all right, we're gonna have to limit the location because we're not gonna film this over 33 days, things like that, and really draw this out. You gotta get this quicker. Let's say that, and then I mean, it's really the crew at the end of the day. They were just on it, and I mean, I wish I could have done it even faster, but I think everybody really knowing what I was going for, and in that sense, there weren't many questions about any major choices on the set. So Roger Corman has said this, that it's really his big formula to being so efficient was to not have any major decisions on set, this intense pre-production, and then it's just a matter of following the outline you set aside. And then, of course, things are always going to come up. It's not going to go perfectly as planned. And then you deal with it in turn.
So I haven't asked this question to too many filmmakers thus far, but I'm curious, did you start an LLC or, any sort of business entity? And what's your opinion about filmmakers doing something like that?
Yeah. So I made an LLC before starting to productions and Pat Baker LLC. And that's really huge for some technical purposes, especially when you're trying to get some locations a business, or they may want to see that you have, and liability insurance is really the big one there. It's always it's always better to protect yourself, separate it, have a separate entity so that if something arise, if the company is not you, that can be personally targeted for the most part. Also, it's a good practice, and it makes things a lot more official. I mean, even though a lot of sites, or the casting or for crews, they're asking when it comes to posting something for the company. Now, I mean, could you just make one up on the spot? Sure. Do some of them verify? Yes. But it makes it way more streamlined. It's making this way more official. And once you get bigger projects, the goal is to get bigger projects. You will be dealing with LLCs. You want to be doing LLCs. So if you get into the habit of it, you can set it up online. That's the big one. Now, like e-files, it's really common for starting LLCs. And then from there, I mean, just do your advance, there's some things you learn about once you start a business. I'll never forget the day I went into a week after, a little beneficial with doing it. I go to the bank and I request my debit card. They're like, yeah, you'll get mailed. And then the next day I apply for a credit card.
So, listening to you talk, I've noticed a couple of things because usually with the filmmakers that I talk to, they're usually like either kind of like very creative minded, or they're very business minded, which I feel like at this point, like a lot of independent filmmakers like us, you kind of have to be a little bit of both, but sometimes people have trouble with that. But you seem to be very interested in that kind of business aspect. So my question is, what got you interested in learning about these things, and kind of like how did you approach the business aspect?
I wouldn't say I had that inner business shadiness, the entity wing to flow. It's something that learning over the years, doing a lot of research online. And then a lot of it is trial and error, frankly, and just like in art, there's going to be some failures. And in our case, if we fail, it's going to be public and you're going to have to deal with it, and hopefully you get better and you keep going. Just like in any kind of business of architect. And then really just reaching out to other people who've done it before, even if it's in other domains. So I learned a lot from even my best friend who has a business. And we talked about, okay, with a credit card strategy, what are you doing for hiring people? What going over their domains? What kind of the website? What email? The hosting for the website? Things like that. How are you setting it up? Social media, and reaching out to that, and frankly, just thinking about it and spending a lot of time on it. And I think it's one of the toughest things for any artist to do is you realize that there's a lot more business to it than you thought of. Whether literally opening a business or you're trying to sell a painting, because the best thing is creating the art, and then you realize, wait, there's this other part of it, and it's the selling of it, it's the marketing, and because of timing, you're just gonna have to get into it. No matter you're a painter, you're a musician, you're a director, whatever it may be, you're a novelist. There's gonna be a marketing. You may hate it, you may resent it, but you can learn that and grow, or you kind of be stubborn.
Jumping over to casting, what attracted you to your lead actors, and how did you go about acquiring them?
I was looking for the cast at least 8 months before casting officially began. So I had this whole sheet, Google sheet of actors that I was specifically the big three. So looking for the Natalie, Dahlia, and Ember role. So for Rachel, who ended up being Rachel and Joey. And I was I wasn't so much looking for any look per se, just a talent. Well, I will say for Natalie, for the values, I was looking for somebody with very expressive eyes. That was super important. I had to nail it, and definitely did. Ultimately, I knew within a few seconds, for their first auditions for the big trailer, there's something very special here, and marked it down. Like really knowing what you're going for, is super important. As open as I was, and it kind of contradict what I just said, but I didn't have nailed down a look of how I have to be this kind of eyebrow or thing like that. But they also start to bring it to life once you really get into auditions and all, and you see, oh my gosh, so these are what other people, how they're interpreting it, and you see the people that make their own decisions for it. That they'll change a couple words, and some people can like, oh, I can't believe you changed the word. Other people, and I was open to it in the auditions and in parts of the movie. There's something, it's ineffable. You can pick up on stuff, and when you really analyze the actor, you see this person has it, this person's trained, this person is into it, this person believes. And well, I mean, there's other things, of course, looking at availability, but I was looking all over the country. That sheet I was looking all over the country. There are people who submitted from outside the country, outside the U.S. And I mean, I was open. I was gonna fly people in. Ended up, they all were local, and it was incredible. I mean, that was like lightning in the bottle, getting those three, and ultimately the rest of the cast to be local and to really just fill in the shoes and jump in them and so in them. And then seeing how they play off each other as well. That's another thing that you got to make sure that they're gonna mesh together in the movie. That although actor A and actor B are great, maybe together the way maybe they sometimes even they look too similar or something like that. That's not something that was a problem here, but I mean that is something they consider. If they're gonna share a bunch of the same shoes and maybe they're gonna wear similar clothes and the human supremacists, there's largely a fair amount of costume. So that was something to consider as well, but none of that worked out for me here. So that wasn't a problem.
Where did you shoot the film?
It's not a Maryland.
So you told me you didn't have a very large crew, and this is something that I love asking filmmakers. What did your crew look like on shoot days, and what crew do you think is essential for independent filmmakers like us to have on set?
Yeah, absolutely. And I really hate to give cop out answers, but there's gonna be one where it depends. If you have going back to the makeup example, if you're having the makeup driven movie or you have some scenes, that's gonna be essential. Of course, a great DP, and if you want to look assign the most which departments, and some people really get mad at this, certain ones give more weight or they give more production value, let's say, per pound. As a certainly cinematographer and production designer, and one thing, probably the biggest slip up for filmmakers is sound. That is, well, cinematography is super sexy. There's not a filmmaker that's like, oh man, I hate the camera. Like, no, that's one of the go-tos. It's the very sexy one, but one of the not so sexy. And don't worry, you're still beautiful sound, but it is the sound. So for one, getting that production sound, I would put tremendous focus on getting great production sound. That is incredibly overlooked. Andy Senior did a great job there. Wonderful, went above and beyond. I think that if you got to put money, from the crew perspective, some extra water, some extra focus, when you give extra cakes, really look into the sound, and you're also going to save yourself a lot of frustration in post. There's the go-to, of course, is fix it in post. Yes, it has its moments, but you don't want to overdo it. You also don't want to stretch out your post-production a decade or anything like that, and you want to get it done quickly, as quickly as possible, as quickly as reasonable. I'll say that. Also, outside of the cinematographer, production designer, and sound there, a lot of times, I mean, you're gonna have people wearing multiple hats, so that's gonna be something to consider. If you could have your DP or camera operator not be the first they see, that'd be really helpful. Because you don't want to be missing a lot of, you don't want to be redoing the takes because you're missing focus and whatnot. So I'd say, and really, I'm pretty let your DP have incredible say in who is hiring and who the perfect she is. But that'd be huge. So you give them that. And of course, I mean, still gonna be able to you're the director. And then from there, take it as the story demands. So once again, I hate to be that cop out guy, 'cause I had to depend. But from then, you'll see where your focus is gonna be, what your sacrifices may have to be.
In terms of hiring for some of those bigger roles like the director of photography or the sound recordist, what do you think are some of the key things that you need to be looking out for before hiring these people?
You need extreme attention to detail. Absolutely extreme attention to detail. Also, huge is they have to mess with you as the director. They have to one of the biggest things, they also have to hold themselves accountable. So if they say, "Hey man, that was wonderful, the actors are great, and we shot I can't believe we pulled off that stunt." The DP needs to be able to say, "I messed up. I wasn't recording, whatever it may be. I know we lost the focus," because it'd be a shame to have saws. It can be embarrassing. Yeah, everybody's celebrating, and then you kind of cut the cut the hype out. You say, "We gotta do it again. Might cost some money, cost some time, but it's better to speak up and say it then than find it hours later, days later in post and see, oh gosh, I was messed up." And the DP didn't speak. Somebody, somebody's gonna work hard and they're gonna understand. It's a two-way street. You gotta be honest. Say, "Hey, we're gonna work outside in the summer. It's gonna be hot. There's gonna be bugs. Da da da. We got all these other wonderful things, and we're gonna take risks, so on and so forth. Are you down?" And keep it honest. And that way, it's not all on them. You have to. You also have to set them up for success. Yeah, that's gonna be a big thing as well. And then give them the resources, being honest. Then there's a lack of it, or you're gonna have to go past there. So that's what I'd say there.
So when you're making an independent film like this, you may be having to ask for favors, whether they're paid or unpaid. And something I like to ask filmmakers, what do you think is the art of asking for maybe unpaid favors?
The art of it, I would say, is not even asking per se. People offer. Okay, before I could even, I mean, there some people were offered and they declined it. And now I'll do it for less. So I guess it really goes down to the relationship you build over the years, and that end up being transactional, although it can seem that way. And of course, there's a little transaction when you're hiring somebody. But having a lot to offer, outside of the project, doing something. Oh yeah, I'll be the XYZ in your project, or do anything. I did say that for plenty of people. I would say that's a big key. I, I guess at the end of the day, I didn't really. I asked very, very little favors. A lot were given, and I kind of seems entitled. But some people were jump in to help, and it comes into also having something that they would be interested in. Well, what do you have to offer outside of the money? Oh, this is going to be something I've never seen. I've never read a script like this. I would love to do it. Oh, how much is it? I'll do it for less. And I want there to be more money for that. That happened. So and giving something that provides a lot of value outside of it. Okay, you're tired of having to film in this certain way. I was thinking this anyway, that you could film da 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 da. I love that. I've been wanting to do it, and all of a sudden, it's not even really a favor that you're. It's a win-win. Everybody's benefiting from it, and at the end of the day, you have to favor yourself a lot of times. Well, in a case like me, okay, I'm gonna do some positions I didn't set out to do in the beginning. I'm gonna make tremendous sacrifices, and then other people see that oh, okay, it's not by no means when oh, it's just these two people they're picked out. Oh, I see Pap as my nickname. Oh, you see Pap is doing that. You see that Alex is doing this, and they didn't have to do it. In fact, they don't. Their positions normally don't do that at all. They're going above and beyond, and you leave from the front, and then they pick up from there.
So before we started recording, you told me that you spent 15 days shooting this film. So walk me through, what did your typical shoot days look like and how did you maximize efficiency?
Yeah, halfway. So for the last, say, 4 or 5 days, those were partial, and partial inaugural just means not 12 hours. There could still be some of the, like 8 hour. Well, no, but normally starting majority of those days, we're starting editing and ending at 8 p.m. Setting aside all goes back to a script and not having that many locations. Setting it aside, and Alice Lindbergh, producer and content, did a really great job planning out machines and what we would be filming. She did that all the way, thousands of miles away, and knowing, all right, setting out the pops, having that all in order, having that, okay, this scene 72, we're gonna have XYZ pop, and then we're gonna film scene 24 right after, and the next pop, oh, that's right next to the box. Just setting that aside, everybody knowing that, having the script handy, printed out in the day. And then, come days 11 to 15, those are a lot smaller. They're smaller with the crew, so they're just able to move around a little faster. Some of those days, or even sound. Like for example, one of those days, the second unit, so it was me getting from the second unit work. And then, so when you don't have to do those cakes, when you're not doing the slates, nothing like that, you know exactly what you want. You just start chipping away at all those times of setting up. By the end, okay, when you speed this up, hey, the leaves, we gotta film this. You gotta finish this movie in production before the leaves and color it. We gotta keep them green. We don't want to have tremendous post work. It's like, oh, turning, and the forest starts spinning out. We don't want that problem. And then people knowing that as well, that, hey, maybe we're a little bit behind. We're gonna need. I know you take 7 minute bathroom break. You make that 6 minutes and 59 seconds. Was people again chip away at it in any way possible. And yeah, from there, it's a matter of being efficient. And there are times where I was like, no, we're going to cut a few lines here. I think this might not make it, or the line, this was on the fence anyway. And then you do your part there too.
What would you say were some of the biggest challenges on set, and how did you adapt to them?
I, and it's just the clock is ticking at all times. So it launches a tiny bit late. You're just ticking away, and we had to leave by 8. Yeah, there were their legal limits, their ethical limits. We're getting kicked out of the place at 8, so it doesn't matter. Literally, we're walked out of a site path of. Sure, it's the time zone and always, and then realizing you're gonna have to sacrifice some stuff, or you're gonna have to take some risks. You're gonna have to acknowledge that certain things will have to be handled in post, and that might mean it's gonna be an extra 3 weeks in post because we didn't get great sound for the 3 airplanes came in the last 3 minutes. Aaron, we're gonna have to do something on that. I feel it's always that. At the end of the day, it's a little funny when you think about it. That production is actually the fastest part. It's the part we think about the most as a movie. And it's certainly the most fun. It's the most stressful. It's the most invigorating. And yeah, from there, it's always, you have so many cakes that you feel like you want to go through. But it doesn't even feel, it is always difficult, but it's just a beauty. You love to be there. And I think everything that's valuable in life is difficult. So you navigate it in the way that you're fishing, give the most that you can do at the time. And you tell the cast, you tell the crew that, and hopefully they're all on board and they're all in the same direction they want the project. So there's times, hey, are you okay with just going a few minutes past, something like that, and see if you can do it. And ultimately, going back, you lean from the front, and I paid lunches. I was still working. I remember that the first day, a ring dropped, and I had a spare ring that Natalie had to wear, and I was like, okay, I gotta move this now and forget lunch for myself. I'll chew as much as I can, but I gotta do that. So even I'm working through those kind of things, and I really having a good support system. So even the people now were directly involved with the film, with family and things like that. And pushing through, there's gonna be physiological things too. You might be, I've heard horror stories, people losing a lot of weight and things like that. They're like, oh man, but fortunately that didn't happen. But you got to realize that though, there's a lot more physical to it as well. That's definitely when you're, looking somewhere outside a lot, but you have to be prepared for that.
So when I shot Cashing Out, I shot it for 24 days, but that was spread out over a few months. I'm sure you didn't shoot 15 days straight, but were they pretty consecutive days?
The first 7 days were fairly consecutive, and a weekend in between, and then the back end is a little spread out. But certain days getting smaller and smaller by the end. And then luckily, and they were all on board. And they didn't have any haircuts. And dyed their hair, the cast at least. I mean, I had fun with this back then, but yeah, it was. Ideally, you get it done as quickly as possible. But if everybody's aligned, then it's okay doing it inside. And there was the particular challenge of filming outside. And in the story, it takes place over a relatively short amount of time, up to 33 days. Tune in to see what happens. But we told them that, and I had that in mind. So we figured, okay, we're gonna start in August. You certainly can't be filming in November, so we got to get this. You done top. That's what it was.
So one thing that I like to ask filmmakers is if they use any techniques to kind of make their productions feel bigger, right? So like in my film Cashing Out, I had some scenes in a movie theater just because I had access to a movie theater, and I had shot scenes there before, working with extras and things like that to kind of make the theater feel full. So did you do anything in particular on this film to make a smaller production feel large?
It is a little natural with my style in post production, adding some more flair to it. So there are times where we could have just, oh, let's just cut. No, let's see if we can do something else to it, add some more flair. What else? And that was natural. Part of it sure was getting more weight to it. And then otherwise it felt like the story demanded it. Also, I think a lot of times the score, having used to the score and great, great composer and Carlson and all doing work as well. I feel like it was just, it really hit you. It didn't feel like it was a copy and paste score by any means, and a lot of times it was Hitler heavy, deep, and made it feel more epic. And I remember I did tell them on multiple occasions that let's make this feel larger, make it feel epic. Don't get ridiculous though. It's not the absolutely blockbuster level score for this moment, but we need to make it feel more intense than it is. We need to make it feel higher stakes than it is. A lot of that, and then even part of it, it goes against conventional thinking, is just mastering the fundamentals and making sure that you're getting all those little things down, that you're not having the technical errors, that you're not having out of focus, that you're not having these sound effects that feel way too loud, or you can't hear it at all, it's dipping in and out, or they're pops, those things like that. It gives away, okay, this isn't a $13 million movie, things like that. Now, I don't think people are necessarily going to believe that The Human Supremacist is a $13 million movie in terms of budget, but there are things you see in independent movies where they're making some very fundamental errors from a technical standpoint, and that could ruin even the best stunt, or the stunt that was great a scene before. If the next scene, the sound is way off, it's going to undo it. It's actually kind of like the negative is going to be a little stronger than the positive. They have hold more weight to it. Those kind of errors. So you have being error free. I mean, the great color. I mean, Joy added a lot of value there. Joy the shiny, giving great attention to it, putting more risk. And there's some other very specific, and not to spoil it, but some bolder choices with the color that are made that were also, yes, aligned with the story. It wasn't just here add some weight, because then I think that tends to get noticed. And that's how I'm testing out. It made sense that they're in a theater. These are things that you're adding weight, but it's making sense in the story. When it's just a oh, let's have an explosion, just to have an explosion. And even if it can be pulled off well, I was like, wow, maybe there's a real explosion or a great VFX, whatever it may be. If it feels like a distraction, if it feels sideways, it's ultimately not going to add as much production value as uh, an artist would expect it to. I'd say that really, and taking some bold choices. That was some in which he's adding some more production value there, making it feel bigger.
So with my film, the post-production process took about 2.5 years. Like I'm not a sound editor or anything like that. Like I can edit a picture pretty fast. Like I probably had that locked in like 6 months or so, but the rest of the time I just spent on sound. How long did it take you to edit this film? You worked with an editor, and you mentioned you had some issues with the sound as well. So I'm curious, what was that process like, and how long did it take?
The book correction started in August 2022. It finished in March 2024. I'll clear it up. Celebrate. The sound was a particularly uphill battle. Filming outside, bunch of bugs, planes. Every now and then, getting the way dial up from time to time when it would come, and certain locations. Cars were actually almost never an issue. They also weren't too close to cars. But Charlie Graham over there in the UK, I told him from the get go, all right, here's what it is, and you can here's an example scene right here. Just gonna be one of the tougher ones, and we're gonna go frame by frame. I will listen to the whole movie. I listened to the whole movie before gear work and after, and all the versions, all the drafts, so to speak. And I'm gonna point out every single frame where there's something that's wrong. So we had this huge document that we had shared, and saying right here, minute 3, second 14, frame 21. There's a pop, and do that hundreds of times. We had hundreds of moments like that, and I mean that takes some time, and yeah, there's some frustration. And then, oh man, I'm quite here, and you nabbed it. Or, I'm hearing that chain pop, and this other one. Or wait, is that from the sound effect, or is that from the score, or is that from? And then isolating exactly where it's from. Oh, okay, just see it here. So it really helps to have your own system, kind of do some things alongside them, even though you're so far away. And really outlining, you're being very specific, and having someone that's gonna know, it's gonna be extremely detail oriented. And if they're not gonna be aligned with that rhyme, then it's just not gonna work. That was the big thing there.
So with the sound, was it mostly on-set audio, or did you have to do any ADR later?
It was mostly on location sound. I'd say about 10% was ADR, and they try to avoid it. There were certain moments. In fact, I believe the best acting moment in the whole movie had some undesirable sound. But I was like, I told that, and I'm like, we're keeping that in the sound. I told Charlie, we're gonna make that work. We're keeping that performance in, but we would check in, say if we can't work, all right, we'll do ADR. And only Rachel and Amy ended up having to do ADR. Nobody else got to. And I wanted the moments and give him a little preview before, so he could pack. And then Amy was there. ADR studio there. But we'd really try to avoid it. The best performance is going to be on camera almost 100% of the time. No matter how much you do there in ADR session, having them there, somebody to bounce off of, them being caught in, them being outside, them being hot, them being cold, that bugs coming, all that, it really adds to the performance. So we really want to get it in there. And there's also some times where there was some voiceover, and I was just, let's do that in post. We can, and we're going to focus on, from the production point of view, it even goes back to how to get the production going, how to have it be faster, focusing and knowing what you need to get in camera, that you're going to have to capture the actor mouth moving. But there are times, okay, if you know it's going to be voiceover, and all right, well, we can shave that. If we're ahead, all right, let's get back. We can get that while we're here. But that's something that can be saved for later. But it's a complication and it's a risk to put things off for 80 on because they can be a hassle getting at the back. Are they in town? Are they available? What's all that? Okay, everything together.
What did your distribution strategy look like?
Well, the distribution strategy was decided pretty early on that we're going to go with Filmhub, almost certainly. Knew we didn't want to wait around. I did a great amount of research, and frankly, from what I've learned from talking to other filmmakers, from what I've read, and a lot of distributors, and get them on the same platforms at a place like Filmhub or Indie Rights. You're going to get them on. As you saw, you just had the interview with the Filmhub CEO. That was wonderful. I watched that. And I mean, it's just, I think, great platform. Gives a lot of freedom to the filmmakers themselves. If you can just get the specs right, doing subtitles, so on and so forth. And then you're not going to have that, month long, wait for, just getting back and forth, talking about certain little aspects. And certainly, of course, we want to maintain the vision. You don't have to compromise that. It's always another thing as well. But the version that the audience deserves, the version that I want to get out there, you're going to get out there. I'm not going to have a distributor to argue that and change it. Or at any point that, for this kind of streamer with the cutout machine, we're going to have the movie as is. So the best version, that's the one that's out there. And yeah, I mean, I really like Filmhub strategy and where they're going. And I feel like right now it's good. And there's also a lot of creative accounting with distributors. I mean, some are definitely honest. I've also heard full stories, people not paid a single penny after a considerable amount of time we get to the film distributor. Like, that's not going to happen. No one. You put in all that work. It's got to be fair. I mean, already there's a lot of creativity, but actually with accounts in the studio system, let's even have it outside of that. That's just not going to fly. And then it's a whole mess if you want to sue, and it could take years and so on and so forth. That's just a mess. I felt like that was going to be the best strategy going forward from the get-go. And that made us adjust things early on. We were going to play around with aspect ratios, and it turns out this wasn't the film to do that. Looking at Filmhub specs and all that. So we made those alterations pretty early on with that, and that we're going to have to do it this way when I have block bars and I have to play around with that. And he made the Human Supremacist 2, but not for the Human Supremacist 1. We're going to leave it, and we're going to follow the specs. And it also guides you early on. It can seem cumbersome that, why are these, I didn't thought that way to begin with. Why are we putting these specs for the audio? Well, how are they going to tell me what to do? I'm the artist. But then you really dive into it. It's actually very helpful. It's okay. It has a certain standard, and it's telling you, okay, what is the audience expecting? What are the other movies doing? You have to at least reach the level of the other ones. If not, of course, you want to achieve them. You want to be better. But I actually found that to be a great help.
What platforms has Filmhub been able to get you on thus far?
Right now, it's on Amazon Prime. So you can let them buy it, and then the rest is coming. So I'll see about that, and keep an eye on Filmhub every day. I'll see what goes on. But we'll see. I expect it to be on some AVOD for sure. So I caught catching out on Tubi. So we'll see that in due time.
So I'm curious your answer here, because I haven't talked to a lot of filmmakers who have distributed on Filmhub. But like for me personally, like I had a bunch of paperwork, like actor releases and music queue and stuff like that. The CEO of Filmhub said that that's not completely necessary. Like, it can be helpful, but not every platform's going to require it. Did you upload any of your paperwork to Filmhub? Because, obviously you had your ducks in a row. So I'm curious if you kind of, did that or just kind of stuck to the basics.
The way I understood it, the minimum was the maximum. At the same time, unless you wanted to put subtitles in multiple languages. So doing all that, putting in the E&O insurance, the leasing, the contracts, the track list, I was putting in everything, and then it got approved in 2 days. So I don't know. I've heard horror stories of it being longer, but yeah, I mean, I had it, and it really helped to have that strategy early on. So all right, I know FilmHub is going to require this, or at least like it. So I'm already, why not already have it set aside in that folder? Oh, I can easily find where the insurance group is. I can find where all the releases are, so on and so forth.
Do you remember what you paid for E&O insurance and like what kind of policy term you had? Because like I've never personally had E&O insurance, so I don't really know what to start here. So I'm curious, like if you, because you're being very business minded and all that, I feel like you kind of just probably know this. But do you remember any of those details?
Yeah, I know in case of PHS and for top picture in this case, it was less than $50 a month. I'm still paying it. So it's not from 30 to anywhere from 25 to $45. What it's looking like. And it's gonna of course depend on circumstances. Wow, a blanket and fairly behind. I mean, don't expect it to be considerably lower either. Don't expect it to be $5 a month, right? To cover yourself as well. And once you really get into it, it was very, very little people. It's really just more of a matter of just organizing, having your place to find it. I think that word insurance is a little scary. It can be scary, liability insurance, insurance, all that. But no, it's actually made way, way simpler. One of the easier people of the whole thing, frankly, and then just make sure you feel pain. Really, then it's just a matter of auto pay at that point. You just set up one, do a tiny bit of work, 15 minutes out, and we'll do your research about which is the best one. And then from that point, it's really an autopilot.
So did you start your policy before post production, or did you do it right before you were getting into distribution?
I actually started it during, well, in pre-production. Yeah. Now, as we talk about whether that was the right tactic or not, and well, I've been good, and it's like in Better Call Saul, right? Like in being having lawyers, like having parents, right? You never want to use it, but not having it, that's a mess. So I would have to use it in that sense. So that's been good. Not that I adore paying it by any means, but yeah, that was a strategy. Cover yourself, cover your company, and all that, and then just off the races and budget for that. Consider that, and it's going to be over time. Depends how long you want to keep this going, keep the fire, keep the flame going, and make sure you're just going to be covered in worst case scenarios, because there's always going to be something. I'm sure I'm passing out. There's going to be things where you're like, I can't believe this, or the film, it's about to blow up in your face. Maybe it's something artistic, maybe it's something technical, maybe there's an emergency, but every single feature is a mini miracle. Every single one. But you have tons of stories where you can be like, cashing out almost didn't happen 47 times. It almost didn't get made. For the fact that it is out there for the world is it's a joy, it's a wonder. Everything came together. You overcame so many things.
I won't say who. They know who they are, but one of my actors dyed their hair blue a few days into shooting. I mean, I fixed it.
Uh, uh,
I got it fixed, but they did a number on me on there. I don't want to keep talking about the policy that much more, but how long do you plan on keeping it? Like, you're going to keep it for the next couple of years? Like, what's your thoughts there?
I'm sorry, I'll look into it, and certainly Phillips had a through a B-shaped run on AVOD. Then then by then it's got some more exposure and some more eyes. And you see, hey, I mean, well, I'll tell you right now, there was I already had a legal dispute in a sense. It never got to an insurance point of view, an insurance Never got to court or anything like that. But there's one time in this, but considerably before the final cut of the film, I just wanted to watch the movie on a bigger screen, right? I was like, well, and I had troubles with HDMI on on TV and my home for whatever reason, multiple computers, it just wouldn't work. So like, I'm gonna upload it to YouTube privately, and I'm gonna watch it on the TV. But yeah, it's gonna be different color. The sound's gonna come out different. All right. So I put it in. I put it on YouTube, upload it privately, get patent. And if she goes through the pass and there's a copyright check, and it comes back flat. I'm like, oh, this is the AI system. It's messed up. We'll look at it. Let me look into it. It says the time code. Well, let me check that. So I checked the time code. Yeah, there's music there. I play. I was like, yeah, okay. Well, what is it? And then they play, and I won't go into detail, though it's not in the movie, even though I could have, but in a way I did win the dispute, but I ended up not digging into it. I figured it was just that deleted B. But nonetheless, it was a victory. It said that there was it was flagged for a song, and there are many things that didn't make sense about this. It was flagged for a song from, I believe it was in 1910. But by the public domain law of the U.S., that is in the public domain. So it didn't make sense. But there are multiple publishers disputing it, and one of them being one of the biggest ones in the world. I disputed it through YouTube. I ended up, I guess say, winning because the publisher did not go forward, and they couldn't, that they were going to exercise any authority over it at the time being. However, I was like, we're going to replace the music there. So the score that was put in there was based on something in the public domain, and I didn't know that at the time, that the composer didn't tell me. And then, well, I decided to replace it. So there could have been a dispute there, but I was overcame that. But there are things you could just never see coming, and that was one of the biggest. I believe it's actually the biggest publisher in the world had a dispute against it, and it wasn't the only one. So that was a good thing that happened before it got released, but you never know. So we'll see what happens. We don't want anything like that to happen.
I think that's kind of a small life hack. It's something I've wanted to mention on the channel, but I just haven't had a chance to. But yeah, just uploading your film to YouTube and see if any checks come up. Like, I'm working on a feature right now, and the director told me that there were some issues on there. So, that was something we knew we had to get fixed, and I'm happy it came up.
Do you have anything like that specifically for catching up? Anything maybe really threw you aside from a practical standpoint, legal?
No, so I had a lawyer for the movie. Like, I got them involved shortly after I finished the movie. And the main thing that I was kind of concerned about was that I had a lot of logos in the film. And she went through and actually counted all of the logos that appear in the movie, just from various places. Like, it wasn't even on like t-shirts or anything. It was just stuff in the background. Like, she mentioned that, and she mentioned this in an interview that I did with her recently. There's like a Dunkin' Donuts cup sitting on a countertop. So, that was something that was accounted for. I don't remember the fair use terminology there that she used, but it was okay. I had a couple of public domain things that never really became an issue. Like, I definitely was not as savvy as you were, but luckily, nothing much has like come up from it.
Well, I don't want to make myself seem more savvy than I am, but part of the let's say the headaches that were avoided were a little bit natural with the movie, since in the human supremacists, they're for the large part away from society on purpose, and they really want to be removed from all civilization as we know it. So there's the more natural, okay, it's not going to be an XID brand in the background, just hanging a band and have that kind of clothes. So that's something that it came out a little more naturally. I understand when you have a movie like Cash It Out, there are things that it's going to be playing more in the day-to-day life, and one of their things they're going to have logos.
So moving on here to the marketing, like what was your approach as far as marketing? Like, did you do film festivals? Did you do paid ads? Did you get reviews done? Like, kind of walk me through your process here.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some film festivals, for Rachel, Best Actress at the Montgomery International Film Festival. So I was wonderful. And of course, they booked about that and booked up more. We got some pending nominations as well at a festival. I think there's been a bigger focus on my part. And I've been loving making the TV spots and the trailers, but the TV spots, that's something I would recommend as well because I know people's attention span is going like this, just dropping. It's harder and harder even for studios to get people to watch 2.5 minute trailers. Well, put a lot of focus on those TV spots. Determine they're real. Make it also something to consider. And this absolutely gets complicated when you're making a movie because they're making it, of course, like this. We're not shooting it vertically. So you have to edit it. When you edit it for a vertical platform for the TV spot incident, for example, and it's generally going to look better when it's vertical. And that's going to mean certain shots are not going to work. You'll find that out on that work. That that shot looks wonderfully amazing in the movie, and you cut it into a vertical, and you say that this doesn't work. It's missing context. That's something that you're just gonna have to go through and make sure you export it, watch it multiple times. Say, okay, is it gonna look good? We'll watch it on your phone as well, and see, okay, does that really work well? And is it gonna get covered by the caption and like that? Something to keep in mind. But I feel a lot of focus on the short form content of it, keep the spot. So there's a trailer, but we don't have a 2.5 minute trailer for it. And also the movie is 70 minutes. So we're not going to give it away. And that's also part of the marketing strategy from the get go. It's telling you to cast this, especially. And we did get a film. We have a film that is original, but we want not only the film itself, the narrative, the story, the execution of it to be original. We want the poster to be original. We want to stand out. We want to take risks with that. Also, the trailer. We're not going to do like everybody else and we're going to give away 80% of the plot. We're going to leave a lot to imagination. And I think those kind of do the best trailers and land and the spots where there's a lot of imagination. At the end of the day, a lot of it even goes back to the core of treating the audience like they're incredibly smart, that they can put these together. If they don't want to know the whole thing, they can fill it in themselves. They give them some, if you bad for instinct, just give them just enough without giving it away. And then, of course, all the strategy is I'm not giving away the to it. I'm not showing anything in the climax, and I really want to hold some stuff back. And it's all mixed, and it's ongoing, and there have been, and there will be some files by air. Yep. I'm figuring out, okay, this thing's not working, this kind of post, and this kind of sign. And also, you got to tailor it for the platform. Right? So what works on Instagram may not work so well on YouTube. What's on YouTube may not work so well on FIG. You got to also go a big thing. There's something that Filmhub, the thing with their specs, I think it really helps out those different kind of the artwork that they require. That's super helpful. I wouldn't see that as something, oh, it's going to be it's more work for the graphic designer. It's going to help you in the long run because you want a poster that not only has the credit, you want a poster that has just the title and the artwork, one in different resolutions, different, all that, because you're going to have certain places when you, let's say, put it on letterbox that is going to tend to be better with just the artwork and the title and not the credit. So having all that, the poster is incredibly important. A lot of focus on that, the graphic design, and this Goldman did great work. I'm really proud of the work he did. I'll say I just don't work on the graphic design too, and it's ongoing with all that. But there's a lot to it, and there's so many more departments. I think you realize that the further you go, the team gets way bigger than you thought, and everybody contributes tremendously. And we're a part, and as a director, yeah, you're leading it, but you see that everybody have an input. No, the way I put it is there's a canvas and everybody's got a chance to paint. Some people have a brush that's thicker And at the end of the day, as a director, you say, hey, you missed the spot right there. You can see the big picture. You'll be able to direct them and it's pun unintended, but intended. And you can really steer them where you got to go, and they'll help you also with the marketing.
This one is just for fun, but if there was one film that you could have worked on or directed, what would it be and why?
Anybody that talked to me for more than 33 minutes will know that my favorite movie, besides even from this, is Interstellar. I saw that 70 millimeter IMAX with a 5-inch sound, by the way, in Arizona. And Thursday, it's been in the biggest theater I've ever been in. There were no trailers before it. I was like, I mean, of course, the movie itself is incredible, but I was just blown away. And I came from the very beginning, with the first shot to the very end. Incredibly original, just emotional, inspirational. Uh, the places that Chris Malone takes the artist, of course, by no means, but what he was doing there, just something I'd never seen before. I didn't know where it was going. To be that bold, I mean, most people would put aliens on one of the planets, and he was the way he's playing with time and press way. I thought, and from top down, in every category, writing, acting, the sound design, the score, everything, the edit, just knocks out of the park. I think the best movie of the century and the best film experience I've ever had. So I would love to be able to have given that experience myself to others. I even saw it again, and made some family go. Actually, I mean, I didn't make them. They volunteered. They wanted to see it without me. With or without me, I saw it again in an IMAX release in Virginia. Well, I'm out to wine. I mean, I could talk for days about Interstellar, and just incredible. They earned the one-word title. I'm going to tell you that.
So, if memory serves, I think that Interstellar is the only movie I've ever seen in 70 millimeter IMAX. I've seen a lot of IMAX movies, I've seen a lot of 70 millimeter movies, but I don't think I've seen any other 70 millimeter IMAX movies, which is really upsetting because I attempted to see Oppenheimer when it came out and I just couldn't. Like there was a theater down in Indianapolis, there was one in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and like they were just all sold out for just weeks at a time. So I just never got the chance to go see it. And I wish I would have gotten to see Dune as well. But you know, I remember vividly too, like I think one of the first IMAX movies that I've ever seen, and this might be the first one I've seen in general, was The Dark Knight. I just remember having this very, very vivid memory of just like that opening scene, you know, where the opening shot is, you know, the glass going in, and that scene just had such a huge impact on me, like overall, and just like my filmmaking career, and just is an inspiration to me in general. And I took a lot of inspiration from the opening of The Dark Knight and kind of implemented that into the first scene of Cashing Out. And I love Interstellar too. It's not my favorite film of all time, but it definitely is up there for me.
I was very, very, very interested, very curious about the opening scene of Cashing Out. Did you get any inspiration from Drive for the score?
Yep. Drive definitely took a lot of inspiration from that one too.
Yeah, I had a feeling. I was like, "You mean Drive By?" That was really good.
It's funny looking back at some of the things that I do because like there's some obvious like intentional like homages, I guess you would say. Like there's a lot of similarities to Fight Club and stuff like that. But then I'll like go back and watch some of my favorite films, and you know, like a scene will pop up. I can't name anything off the top of my head, but it has happened to me quite a few times after I've made Cashing Out, where like I'll watch a scene of a movie and like, you know, something that I took from it unconsciously will pop up in the movie, and I'm just like, that's where I got that from. Like it's kind of nuts how just some things are just burned inside of your head like that.
Oh man, I know where you come from.
So I'm curious now that this film's done and it's out in the world, like what's next for you?
Yeah, so I'm letting it out now. and it's ongoing. I hope to get it out to the world in due time. I say the Human Prometheus, all things told, was a little over 4 years from inception of the idea to it getting released. I don't want that happening again. I don't want that happening with the novel right there. Well, in a sense, it's already been a good amount of years since I had the idea. I've really been able to get to it. And of course, the focus is down on the movie, but now I can. Attention is slowly shifting away more towards the novel. Of course, go tremendous on the marketing for the Human Prometheus. Go on that, and then after that, get back to the movie and want to then direct another one. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'll do the novel proudly, get that done. I hope it's gonna get. I mean, I'll just be really proud of that. I think it's another thing that's gonna move all the way to deserve. So like that. And then take it from there and get back to cinema. Well, what about you?
So the move right now, and I don't get to talk about this much on the channel, but right now I'm kind of like I look at my life in kind of a few different phases. So like my early 20s was like my, we're just gonna learn as much as we possibly can about filmmaking and just making a good film, right? Production and all of that, writing, yada yada yada. I didn't focus a lot on the marketing aspect. And with my job, because like I'm a full-time YouTuber right now, like not on this channel, like my actual job is actually working for another YouTuber. And like just my experience in there, I can credit for a lot of the successes that I've had on this channel. But as far as like how it's impacting like my career, like I am looking at this moment right now of just like learning as much information as I possibly can, learning how to build an audience and learn how to market and do all these different things, learn how to raise money. So that way, when I am ready to do the next one, like I'm just going to be ready to go, because there's a lot of things that I didn't do on Cashing Out that I wish I would have known. Like Cashing Out, I just kind of looked at as like hey, this is my, my film. This is me as a filmmaker. And we're just going to, make a film, get the first one out of the way and just figure it out. Right. And I don't, every film is a learning process, but I want the next one to be a little more strategic, I guess, for lack of better words. So, and funny story, like I haven't really talked about this on the channel yet. Like I tried to make my second film 5 years ago, back in 2020, like nobody was working. So I'm like, okay, let's get a bunch of people together and let's just make another movie. But the budget kind of got out of hand and like a lot of my equipment started crapping out. Like I put all my equipment through the ringer when I made Cashing Out. So like I just couldn't buy more stuff. I didn't have any money, like I definitely didn't have a lot of the skills that I have now in terms of marketing or maybe even raising money at this point. So it's kind of like I was just kind of stuck. So I made a proof of concept, just took a piece of the script, turned it into a short film and got some people together and shot that. Didn't turn out as well as I would have hoped. And it definitely didn't perform. So I'm like, if it performs, maybe there's something here, but it didn't perform. So it's just kind of like, okay, just kind of gone and forgotten. So I would love to make that one at some point. I have a couple of script ideas in my head that I'm going to write at some point. I'm kind of getting distracted by the channel right now. So, it's at some point I'm going to have to write about those scripts. So, a lot of things that I want to do, but, right now, like I said, I'm just focused on just learning a bunch of stuff that I didn't know before, trying to build an audience and all that, just, I guess, kind of see where things are going from here.
Oh, you got it, man. You got it. We'll do it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you coming on. So where can people find the Human Supremacists? Like go ahead and plug away anything that you want to plug.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, Paulo Perez 13. You can find the movie on Amazon Prime. And a good place to get some updates too is on the Instagram account, the Human Supremacist Film. And then up check IMDb, updating that, rate it there, rate it on Letterboxd, everywhere else, and spread the good news. Absolutely. When you do see it, if you've already seen it, go ahead and spread it some more.
I want to give another huge shout out to Paulo for taking the time to talk with me. I mean, it was really awesome how candid he was about the entire process. And I really appreciate that I was able to kind of nerd out with him a little bit at the end. So I don't get to do that very often. So I really appreciate that. Make sure you guys go check out his film, The Human Supremacist. It's on Amazon right now. If you like this video or found it useful, be sure to subscribe to my channel to see more videos just like this one. If you want to help support me, my feature film, Cashing Out, is linked in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.